unless the scammers
Hey, what's
de-risking
up,
the US
guys? This
dollars.
is a
Or
clip
So this
unless
is
they
a
left it in a
for
centralized exchange.
y'all. This is Richard
yeah, but
Hart
even then,
tonight
as long as it
on
didn't
a
actually
Twitter
exit the fiat,
Spaces,
it pumps all the market cap
destroying
still.
people,
So
acting
there's this weird
cocky as
mechanic in
hell,
crypto
but
where if
telling
people
people how
scam
it
and make
is.
okay, I have a
Anyway,
perfect
I hope
example
y'all
for guys. You
enjoy.
guys are gonna love this.
Don't forget to like and
The US
subscribe.
government just seized $1
And
billion
if you
from
want
the
to get a
Silk
hardware
Road
wallet,
hacker
hit the link down
that is
below in
just
the
brand new. Just came
description.
out a few
Okay?
days ago.
Thank you very much.
Guess what? He just sat on the 50,000 Bitcoin. He didn't spend them. So if a hacker comes along and sucks up $1 billion of your stuff and never sells it, similar to Satoshi, it just pumps the market caps and it never hurts the price. So, you know, a lot of these centralized coins like ERC20s, like BNB, for instance, you go look at the ownership cap table and it's like the top 100 addresses own 90% of the coins. And it doesn't matter what ERC20 you pick, but BNB's made all-time highs versus Bitcoin consistently. BNB has been a better performing asset than Bitcoin. Well, lol, that's pretty interesting, right? So now look, there's the counterparty risk there. Like they're doing a burn, they might not burn anymore, all this different stuff. But like my point is that centralized ownership is very often amazing for price performance, but people confuse it with centralized network, which is bad for censorship resistance. And so for price pump, you prefer centralized ownership. What's the least centralized ownership coin in crypto? Bitcoin. And what's the least gains in crypto? I don't know. Bitcoin only 3x in 5 years. Well, that
Yeah,
sucks,
you've got to
right?
add an element of risk adjusted to everything.
Sure, 100%, sure. But look, when stuff like, so my point is, this is the best performing asset class that's ever existed. It has nearly 100% uptime. You're getting free airdrops out the yin yang. Pulsechain is going to give you a free copy of everything on the Ethereum network. And we got 10 or 20, well, I don't know, maybe 10 airdrops during the last bull run. Where else in the real world do you get actual free money? You don't. The real world does not have free money on offer. But in crypto, I swear to God, there's actual real free money. It's wild. It's like insane. How lucky are we? And I mean, so if the government would just take its grubby, dirty hands off of our amazing technology, stop with the regulatory horror of making it illegal to sell the stuff to your friend, let exchanges flourish and have American customers, and let capitalism and competition do what it does best and give users choice and they choose the better thing, would be glorious. Why do you think everyone used FTX? I mean, FTX basically just came up because the founders of BitMEX got arrested. The guys that are FOMO tards that want to go FOMO hard didn't want to do it on BitMEX anymore because the founders went to jail for a while. And that's the only reason FTX came up, basically, is because it was considered a more play safe to FOMO and to get wrecked margin trading, in my opinion. My
Correct.
opinion.
Once again, this is a shameless
So,
plug.
look, long
Don't
story
forget to
short,
like and
there is no
subscribe.
better
There's
performing
videos
asset in
down
the
in the
history of
description
mankind. There is no better
page,
uptime than 100%
and I
uptime.
hope you enjoy the
These
content.
features are amazing. The fact that you can get around evil governments doing capital control stuff that they might not should be doing, like North Korea or some other communist governments. The fact that you could leave a war-torn area like Ukraine with your money. The fact that if there's another war or a time of strife, you could pay to get your way out of those countries. There's just so many amazing things that crypto does that nothing else can do. It's one of the only things I know of in this world that can change man's relationship to government, and it will make less war. The
So
government goes to
Richard,
war.
I
got it.
wouldn't, Piotr, I'd let you continue. I think you'll agree with me. I just wouldn't put all governments, or put government in general, in just in a basket of being evil. Like we had regulators come on, we had the ex White House chief of staff, and he understood crypto. He supported decentralization and self custody. So I think there's flaws in the current centralized world, but I don't know if even that crypto itself is still an experiment, in my opinion.
If
I'm
you've got
sure
a
Richard will.
grandma, they're stealing your grandma's money every single day. The government prints away the value of your grandma's money that she worked her whole life to save every single day. If you're a crippled person or you're on fixed income or you're on a pension, your life is totally ruined by the inflation of these guys printing away the value of all your money every single day. They're violating the rights of the citizens. They're violating their right to free speech. Hey, guess what, guys? Here's something that, I'm a little bit pissed off about. I hear Hex influencers are getting subpoenas for promoting Hex. That really upsets me a lot, because Hex isn't a fucking security. It's truly 100% decentralized and launched totally complete and is uneditable and unchangeable. Period.
So Richard, I've got a question for you then. I think, again, I agree with a fair amount of what you said, and I really enjoyed the exchange between you and Simon. And as I say, I think we've got 16,000 people in here. I'm going to represent probably a proportion of them, which is I'm a novice in this. I have very little, in this industry. So, from what I'm hearing from you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that now in the aggregate scheme of things, everything else relative to when it first began. But that question leads to me is, so how do us newbies, again, if I'm role playing for some people, get involved? If things are continually getting in a way, we're in a fluctuous period, it's volatile, there's a lot of concern, the encroachment of potentially regulation. And I might point out that a lot of your focus, which is fair enough, is to do with the United States, but it's going to be different in other parts of the world. China's not even, allowing Bitcoin mining. How do we navigate this period as people who want to get involved? They want to understand where to go, how to do it. What would you say to those people?
Quite simply, look, Kraken.com's got thin order books, but Jesse Powell that founded it is a cypherpunk, libertarian, believes in human rights, So now he ain't CEO anymore. Hopefully whoever there is running it is still doing a good job. I don't like referring people to exchanges that have margin trading. They get wrecked. So, but if I had to on-ramp a new user, I'd either on-ramp them to Bitstamp, who apparently will AML KYC you to death and ask you the worst questions ever, or to Kraken that has margin trading, but at least has Monero. Now, how many exchanges have Monero? Almost none of them. Why? Because they're cowards. But Kraken has Monero because Kraken cares more about your ability to be anonymous, your ability to have privacy, your human rights. Privacy is a human right, and you should never feel bad about using it. And anyone that would take it from you, ask them for their email password. Ask them to see their search history on YouTube and on Google and see how quickly they care about privacy again. So I would just tell a new user, look, set up an account on Kraken.com, install MetaMask
If you made
on your
it this
phone.
Far,
Never
might as
give
well
anyone
subscribe.
your private keys.
There's
Never
also
give anyone your
deals in
seed
the
words.
description page.
There is no support.
And
anyone that direct
don't
messages you is
forget
scamming
to
you.
share and comment.
If someone messages you and
This
says
is
there's
the last
support,
one.
they're scamming
Thanks,
you.
people.
Someone messages on
I
Twitter
hope
and
you
says there's
enjoyed.
support, they're scamming you. Don't enter your private keys into a website ever. Do not approve weird dApps. Don't fall for fake giveaways. Don't fall for, I'm going to send you send one, you get two back, fake Elon Musk giveaways. Or lately, all these fake Uniswap liquidity bot giveaways. They're all scams. All you got to do is install MetaMask, save your 12 words, set up a Kraken.com account, wire some money to Kraken.com, buy Ethereum, and then swap that Ethereum to whatever you want using 1inch.io or Match.xyz because it spreads your orders across all the available liquidity, gets you best order.
Just some quick breaking news that came from the block here. A GOP lawmaker that had been given a campaign contribution of $5,000, which is the max typically on these sorts of contributions from an FTX executive. He has now returned those funds, and he is dissing himself after the troubled crypto exchange filed for bankruptcy protection. It says here, FTX Digital Markets co-CEO Ryan Salame gave $5,000 to Hearn Victory Fund, a joint fundraising committee with ties to Hearn's campaign. The Help Elect Republicans Now Leadership PAC and the National Republican Congressional Committee. Representative Hearn has donated the money from FTX. Hearn's campaign said it did not specify which organization received Hearn's donations. So Salami was a major political donor during the 2022 midterm cycle, it says here. He spent millions to support more than a dozen Republicans with his American Dream Federal Action Super PAC. Salami also gave individual contributions to many lawmakers and candidates.
So when are they going to get back the $50 million that Sam Bankman-Fried gave them to double our taxes?
Yeah, exactly.
I was just about
by
to
the
say.
way, guys, Tara is back up, and let her have her question.
That's actually perfect. I can hear Richard now, and I think I can hear everyone else. So thank you guys so much for working with me. I know this is extremely frustrating when the tech isn't working properly, but I appreciate the work you're doing to make it work out. Really quick, I don't want to keep you, Richard, but I wanted to ask you just what you guys were talking about, what you think, should be the recourse for these types of things. Should there be payback? Should there be money sent back from political parties that accepted huge donations from
Totally.
Sam and FTX. What are your thoughts on that? And I also wanted to ask you about the SEC, as being kind of the governing body who has been preaching regulation, but at the same time, do we trust the SEC, Gary Gensler, who is obviously, well, in my opinion, bought and paid for to do the job fairly?
Well, good news. They already figured this out. It's called fungibility. So I think it was in the 1800s. Some guy got his money stolen, and he wrote down the serial numbers of the bills. And then he went to the bank, and he's like, "Hey, you've got my stolen property. These are the bills numbers that were stolen from me." And there was a big court case about it, a long time ago. And it basically said that to have a functioning currency, you can't have people doubting the provenance and origin of the currency because it would cripple all commerce, basically. And you'd have to create a database of less good and more good coins and have risk profiles and a bunch of other horrible crap. And so basically in the fiat currency world, once someone steals your money, it ain't your money no more. And so if someone steals your money and gives it away to a political party, it's gone. You ain't getting it back. If someone steals your money and spends it on slushies at 7-Eleven, you ain't getting that money back from 7-Eleven. It would break the fungibility of the currency. So you can claw back money from the bankrupt entity through the bankrupt process, and you'll discover you're an unsecured creditor and that the secured creditors get preferential treatment and are made whole before you, and you'll get whatever's left, and you can hope there's something left. So in the case of Mt. Gox, there is something left, and users will get a lot of money back at some point. Even there's a tragedy of the commons because the trustee gets paid by not giving you your money back. As soon as the trustee gives you your money back, he ain't got a job no more, and he likes getting paid a lot of money. So he wants to drag on the process.
Well,
And so
that's
he's
not quite true, right? Like in any bankruptcy case, that there is a time horizon for that. Yes, they make money, but at some point they actually do divest the funds to those who are owed
you
them.
think it takes 10 years for Gox to give its creditors their money, bro?
They aren't purposely withholding them for a set amount of fees per year for one or two people holding them.
At this
I'm
rate
just
of
saying,
inflation, it'll be
10
worth
years
half
ain't
its
reasonable,
value.
bro. 10 years ain't reasonable. It's unreasonable. But anyway.
I'm not saying it's reasonable or not. I'm just saying that that fees for one or two people for holding them is not the catalyst for them withholding assets from people.
But the point is still the same. It absolutely sucks.
I hope you're right, but you have a higher opinion of lawyers than me, bro. So basically,
the lawyers are absolutely horrific in bankruptcy. It's awful.
Yep. So basically, like once you get jacked, you're gonna stay jacked. Like in crypto, when you lose your money, man, it usually don't come back. So all them bridges that got hacked, like I don't know, dude. I don't think that money ever came back. So a lot of these inflation bugs, like XLM had an inflation bug. Ravencoin had an inflation bug. Hackers they had a 10% of the supply inflation bug. Hackers just dumped it on exchange. You get that money back, it's gone. Like, so what would I like to see? I'd like to see people never lose money, and if they do, to be made whole. But who's supposed to make you whole, right? Like this idea that someone was saying that like there should be a
Only
bailout
Jesus
fund.
can make you whole.
Yeah, there shouldn't
What
be a
doesn't
bailout
sit well,
fund.
Richard, for me is when the regulating body is receiving large sums of money from potentially one side of the aisle, I guess you could say, and then they're in charge of regulation. What's stopping them from regulating in favor of certain things that should not be allowed because their pockets are being lined that way?
I 100% agree with you that governance in the general electoral system is broken. So I have a solution on how to fix that. So I won't say it's simple, but we need smarter people running for office, which means we need to pay them more because their pay sucks.
No, we need no office, though. We need just decentralization. That's what we need.
Yeah, but we also need the other stuff too. Like, we need both.
In
So, but
Switzerland,
Richard, I don't
the
think there's
executive
anything
is
wrong
called
with
executives, and that's what they do. They're just nothing but employees, so they don't even propose laws or anything. The laws comes from the referendums, and most of the people vote no because you don't want to have a pile of laws. You want to have as least laws as
yeah, but you guys
possible.
approved the COVID vaccine restrictions.
Yeah, fine,
So,
but this was an overreach, and now there's a referendum that's going to come in order to never have that again. So, it takes time sometimes,
I was
but
rooting for you. I was
I
like,
think
there's no way that people would vote for this, but
yeah,
then you
I think
did.
yeah, no, I can't believe it either. But whatever.
an important distinction. The word bailout is charged because you think of a government bailout, which is theft because that's just printed and you pay for it through inflation. But there's not much wrong with a free market bailout. Those shouldn't
Except
be
for the
prevented.
Yeah,
centralization. Except
Sure.
for the centralization.
Yeah, sure, but it shouldn't be prevented if people want to create a
No,
free
for sure.
market solution
Yeah, it's
and a
not
free
really a
market
bailout.
product.
yeah.
You're just buying some assets that are distressed. Like there's nothing bailout about it. You're just buying something that sucks. You're like, oh, it sucks.
It's
It's
like a
just not worth as
voluntary.
much now. Okay, I'll buy it at the suck price.
I have
The
another
problem is when
question
you
for
print
Richard.
money in order to do that because that's just a hot potato where you're just paying with inflation. That's just a
I mean,
hidden
guys,
tax.
the solution is like, don't get punched in the face. You're like, but I got punched in the face. It hurts. You're like, yeah, you have to stop getting punched. You were given all the tools possibly necessary to not get punched. There's nothing easier in the world than not to have had this problem. I and anyone else I know has literally had no fallout at all from this. As a matter of fact, actually, all of this crap happening just makes my predictions come true quicker. So the Band-Aid can get ripped off quicker. So like,
And I wanna ask you for another prediction, if I may. Let's assume nothing much changes, right? There will be all kinds of regulation. Where do you see crypto realistically in 5 years from now?
I think you'll have 150K Bitcoin. I think you'll have, 100K Ethereum, maybe. Like, I'm just pulling these numbers off the top of my head. Like, so if Bitcoin's last bull cycle did a 3x, maybe because it'll be a heavier weight. Like, if it dumps far enough, like if it exceeds the 85% downside target because money got more expensive, then you might just see another 3x. So, like, you might just see maybe from 70K to 200K. So, like, 150 to 200K, I feel are like conservative, reasonable estimates for Bitcoin's next bull run, which
And
should be starting anytime soon if they pivot and stop printing money.
yeah,
So,
exactly. It also depends on how much money they print. It works a bit like gold. It's not that gold is taking any value. It was $35 an ounce in 71, but it's just that they're sending the fiat so much in the drain that we now have 1,700, even with manipulation, according to my opinion. But yeah, I mean, it depends if they print, because the big risk here, guys, and this is a tail event, is, like I said, it would be a massive deleveraging, because just as much as there is so much leverage on the fake market cap and pump and dump it over the shit coins, uh, the traditional market is the same. You have $800 trillion with a T uh, of derivatives, and none of those are yeah, back.
so
it's
here's
the
Hey,
here's the
same.
Richard,
funny part.
wait. Richard, you just made a little mistake. I heard you say earlier that you thought Ethereum will surpass Bitcoin in value, but now you said Bitcoin 150, Ethereum 100. So which one is it?
Well, Ethereum maxed out at 5K. 5K to 100 is a 20x. Bitcoin from 70K to 200 is a 3x. So that's a 7x performance in Ethereum's favor, looking at all-time high to all-time high.
Guys, I got a prediction. I
All
got
right.
Dogecoin beating the performance of Bitcoin anytime right now.
Yeah,
Because if you have to
everything's going to
go
beat Bitcoin.
like my theory is this, okay, just let me lay it out in 2 sentences. Theory number one: they're all shit coins, it's all speculation, it's not money, you guys are blind. And then number two is, if I were to go fully degenerate, then let's not half-ass it, let's go full degeneracy. And then in that case, you go and buy some Dogecoin, and then you end up with what you were looking for. The only bag of coins I have is like the most degenerate shit coins I can possibly get, because they do the job of being the speculation. Bitcoin is not going to do 10,000x once again, but Dogecoin, the simulation we live in is so bloody absurd, and COVID proved it, that I'm thinking, why not? So plus you add Elon Musk coming in and is basically saying, you know what, let's mind fuck everybody. I mean, I can see that. That's my thesis, my big investment thesis. What do you think?
I think your thesis is called Scams Pump Hardest. Lol. I mean,
Richard,
you're promoting a logo change coin. It's like, okay, dude.
So let me tell you what I think is going to happen. I think what we are facing is the biggest financial economic crisis since the Great Depression. I think what's going to happen is we'll see a massive.
Hey guys, if you've literally made it this far, you might as well hit the subscribe button. Also, you might need a cold storage wallet. Check the Ledger link down in the description. Thanks.
Space will not be unaffected by it. I think we're going to go through a number of really, really difficult years, and in that process, people are going to demand an alternative. They're going to say, you fucked us, your system that you put on us didn't work, we want something else. And that is when I think crypto will really take off.
100% I agree, man.
When you say crypto, can you define what you mean by crypto? Does that mean Doge?